He killed Paris. Hope is shattered by Douglas's bombshell. The late afternoon sun spilled through the tall windows of Brooke Logan's living room, painting the hardwood floor in soft amber light. It was one of those deceptively peaceful moments in Los Angeles, when everything looked calm, even though everyone in this family knew peace never lasted long. Hope Logan stood near the fireplace, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She wasn't cold. She was bracing herself. Across the room, Douglas Forrester sat on the edge of the couch, his small hands clenched together, his feet not quite touching the floor. For a boy who had already seen too much, today felt heavier than any other day in his young life. Hope watched him carefully. She had learned to read Douglas's silences. This one wasn't fear. It was resolve. "Douglas," Hope said gently, lowering herself into the chair across from him, "you said you needed to tell me something. Something important." He nodded slowly but didn't look up. From the hallway, Thomas Forrester hovered unseen, listening. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure Hope could hear it from across the room. He knew what Douglas was about to say. And he knew it would destroy everything. Douglas finally lifted his head. His eyes were too serious, too old. "You promised," he said softly. "You promised you wouldn't be mad. And you promised you'd believe me." Hope swallowed hard. "I promise, sweetheart. Whatever it is." Douglas hesitated, then took a deep breath. "He killed Paris." The words landed like a bomb. Hope's world tilted. She blinked, certain she'd misheard him. What did you just say?" Douglas's lower lip trembled, but he didn't back down. "He killed Paris. I heard him say it. I heard him talking about it." Hope's heart slammed violently against her ribs. Her mind raced. Paris Buckingham. Vibrant, kind, brilliant Paris. A woman who had become family. A woman who was alive. Or, so everyone believed. "Douglas," Hope said carefully, her voice shaking now, "Paris is alive. She was just at Forrester last week." Douglas shook his head. "That wasn't Paris." The room seemed to shrink around them. "What do you mean that wasn't Paris?" Hope whispered. Douglas leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "That was someone else. Someone pretending to be her." Hope's breath caught painfully in her throat. Behind the wall, Thomas squeezed his eyes shut. Hope stood abruptly, pacing the room as panic clawed its way into her chest. "Douglas, this is serious. You can't say things like this unless you're sure." "I am sure," Douglas insisted, tears welling in his eyes. "I heard him say it. I heard him say he made sure Paris couldn't talk. He said no one would ever find her." Hope stopped pacing. She asked, though she already knew the answer. Douglas's voice cracked. "My dad." The room fell silent. Hope felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath her. She steadied herself against the back of a chair, memories flooding her mind. Thomas's intensity, his obsession, his ability to manipulate, to lie, to destroy. "No," Hope whispered. "No, he wouldn't, he couldn't." "I heard him," Douglas repeated, tears now streaming down his face. "I wasn't supposed to hear, but I did. He was on the phone. He said Paris trusted him. He said that was his biggest mistake." Hope's knees buckled, and she sank into the chair. Thomas killed Paris. The thought was unthinkable. And yet, terrifyingly believable. From the hallway, Thomas finally stepped into the room. "Stop," he said sharply. "That's enough." Hope whipped around, her eyes blazing with shock, fear, and something darker, recognition. "Thomas," she said slowly, "what is Douglas talking about?" Douglas recoiled, instinctively shrinking back. Thomas forced a smile, but it was brittle, cracked. "He's confused. He's been through trauma. Kids imagine things." "Don't lie." Douglas cried. "You said she was gone forever." Thomas's composure shattered. "Douglas, be quiet," he snapped. Hope stood, fury igniting within her. "Do not talk to him like that." She stepped between them, protective, maternal, unyielding. "Thomas," she said, her voice icy now, "tell me the truth. Did you hurt Paris?" Thomas's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape that didn't exist. "I loved her," he said hoarsely. "She betrayed me." Hope's heart stopped. That wasn't a denial. "What did you do?" Hope demanded. Thomas laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and broken. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." The memories poured out of him then, unstoppable. Paris had confronted him. She had figured it out, his manipulation, his lies, the secrets he was hiding. She had threatened to go to the police, to tell Hope everything. I just needed her to listen, Thomas said, his voice shaking. I needed her to understand that I did everything for love. Douglas covered his ears, sobbing. Hope felt physically ill. Thomas, where is she? Thomas hesitated. Where is Paris? Hope screamed. She fell, he said finally. It was an accident. Hope shook her head in disbelief. You're lying. She slipped, Thomas insisted. We were arguing near the stairs at the beach house. She lost her balance. And you didn't call for help? Hope asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas's silence was answer enough. Hope staggered backward, tears streaming freely now. You let her die, she said, broken. You let everyone believe she was alive. I had help, Thomas admitted quietly. Someone covered it up. A body double. Fake sightings. It was supposed to protect Douglas. Protect us. Hope laughed hysterically through her tears. You murdered an innocent woman and you think that protects your son. Douglas sobbed openly now, collapsing into Hope's arms. I'm sorry, he cried. I didn't want to tell, but I was scared. Hope held him tightly, her body shaking with grief and rage. You did the right thing, she whispered. You were brave. Sirens wailed in the distance. Hope looked up sharply. The police are coming. Thomas's face drained of color. You called them? I would have, Hope said coldly. But I didn't need to. The front door opened, and Ridge Forrester stepped inside, followed closely by Detective Sanchez. Thomas, Ridge said, his voice breaking. Tell me this isn't true. Thomas met his father's gaze, tears spilling over. I didn't mean to, he whispered. Ridge staggered as if struck. Detective Sanchez moved forward. Thomas Forrester, you're under arrest for the murder of Paris Buckingham. As the handcuffs snapped shut, Thomas looked at Douglas one last time. I did everything for you, he said. Douglas shook his head, his voice small but firm. No. You did it for yourself. Thomas was led away. Days later, Hope stood alone at the beach, staring out at the ocean where Paris had taken her last breath. Flowers lined the sand, a quiet memorial to a life stolen too soon. Hope closed her eyes, letting the wind carry her grief. Douglas's words echoed in her mind. He killed Paris. A child's truth had shattered a family, and finally brought justice. Hope wiped away her tears and whispered softly, You didn't die in vain, Paris. And for the first time in a long while, the truth, no matter how devastating, had finally come to light.